All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here today. It's great being here again. And I'm glad to see you guys are able to keep going despite all the weird stuff going on in the world. Um, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Alfred is an amazing little application. And everybody's familiar with Spotlight, the Spotlight that you hit Command Space and you can look up a name and you can launch an app. Well, Alfred is a advanced version of that. It is kind of like I like to think of as the Spotlight on steroids. And it's an app that's been around for a while. There's some other competitors out there. The Launch Bar is another one, and I'll talk about differences between them eventually. But a few years ago, I embraced I embraced Alfred. How do I keep, I keep mixing them up is because Hazel was the cleaning lady and Alfred sounds like a butler, and I keep mixing them up. But either way, so I embraced Alfred a few years ago, and so let me show it to you. I have got Alfred here, and this is all there is to the app. It's just a little bar, just like Spotlight. But if you hit Command comma, that gets you into the whole system and preferences and all the things you can do with Alfred. And if you get one thing out of today's session, I would recommend just remember in any app you're in, if you hit Command comma, you always get access to the preferences, which is true on just about every app on the Mac. And it makes it so much easier than having to mouse up to the preferences. And it works everywhere, but especially an app like Alfred, which has no discernible user interface, it really helps. I'm going to come back to this later and show you all these settings you have here, but I can show you just for now that I have replaced the Spotlight with Command Space to use Alfred with Command Space. And let me just show you a few things I can do with it. The first is I can just like get a contact if I want, so here's a contact for me, Lynette Barcata. This is a fictional person I use whenever I do presentations. And in Spotlight, you can see them, but in Alfred, you can go down and you can select on them. And then this gives you kind of a contact card for that person. If I want, I can hit Command C anywhere. And now I've copied it to the pasteboard. So if I open, let's say, text edit, and I'll do a new document here, and I paste that, there is the email address that I just copied. But there's a lot more you can do with Alfred. All right. I could also, rather than hit Command C, I could have just hit enter with that. And then that's going to open up a new email to Lynette. So I can start sending an email out to her. I could also, if I want, here, I'm just going to hide this. I could also hit Command L, and it has a little guide down here. If I hit Command L, it puts it in large. Like at my old office, my Mac was stationary and the phone was all the way across the room. And so I would put a phone number up, I wouldn't be able to read it. So if I hit Command L, then it puts her phone number up in large type across the screen. So these are all features that you just don't get with the built-in stuff of Spotlight. And that's really the thing about Alfred and Launch Bar is they take Spotlight and then they go a few steps further, but that's just something you can do with contacts with it. There's a lot more. Alfred can also manage files. It can look through and do clipboard history. Like that's another cool Alfred trick. So I'm going to open it up, hit Command comma, and then you're going to go over here to the settings. And if you look through them, there's different features. Like this first window is going to show me all the places that it can look. And I've got it searching on my Mac through the preferences, folders, contacts, documents, but it's not searching archives or text folders. But each one of these is like a sub feature in it. And one of them is clipboard history. And you can see here, I've got it remembering clipboard history. So for me, it's Option Command V. That will pull up my clipboard. Well, I don't know what's going to show up when I do this, guys, but I'm going to push it anyway. And there it is. And you can see these are all of the things I've had on my clipboard recently. that I can access. I mean, the idea of only having one thing in your clipboard is crazy. You know, you should be able to keep as much as you want in your clipboard. If you copy someone's email address and their phone number, you should be able to get them again without having to go back to the source. And in this case, Alfred not only shows me the clipboard contents, like here's the email I just copied to show you guys. It also shows me what app I got it in. So I got that in Alfred. I got this little emoji in Alfred. You can tell I was prepping for today's thing here. So I've got some stuff here. I've got a couple web pages I was working on for MacSparky. And so I've got all this different bits of stuff I've saved in my clipboard. Well, Alfred does all that. And as I showed you just a minute ago, I set that up right here in Clipboard History. And I change, you can set whatever you want for the hotkey to trigger it, but I'm using Option Command V. You can also do, you can also have it remember, how long does it remember? Like I'm having it remember clipboard contents for 7 days and remembering images for 7 days. If I type the word clear in Alfred, it will clear all the history for me. So let's try that. I'm going to hit Command space and there's Alfred. I was going to type clear and you can see right there, it's giving me some options. I want to clear it for the last 5 minutes. So I want to clear it for 15 minutes, or I just want to clear the whole history. I'll go ahead and just clear the whole history. And now if I hide Alfred and I hit the Alfred shortcut, Command Option V, you can see there's nothing in my clipboard history anymore. So I was able to zero it out. So if you find yourself putting passwords in there or things that you don't want remembered, you can change that. But there's just so much you can do with this application. It also does text expansion. So if you want to type in cell, C-E-L-L with an extra C and have it put in your phone number, it can do that. It's a calculator. That's another thing I use it for all the time. So I can say 2 plus or 2 times 2, there we go. And you can see the first thing it gives me is the result of that. But you can get even further into it. You can add parentheses, 2 times 2, which is 4. And we'll say divided by 4, and then it gives me the answer to that. But if I take the parentheses out, well, that one works because it's not very complicated. I guess I didn't use a very good example, but you get what I'm talking about here. So you can do kind of a complicated math in there if you want. And I'm going to go through some of these in different contexts as we get through the session here, but just to kind of give you an overview. The other thing it does that's very powerful is it does customized searches. So like if you want to search Google for MacSparky, say search Google for, I just type G and you see the first thing it did here is it gives me Google. And then I just say MacSparky, and now it's just going to do a Google search for me of me. But it doesn't just search Google. You can also say, I want to search Google images, you know? And so I just type IM. Let me do that again so you can see it. IM says search Google images. It's the first one. And it sees all I have to do is hit return to agree to that. But I could hit Command 2 to go in drop zone, or Command 5 to go into the time app, or IMDb. But I'm going to go to Google images. So I'm going to hit that. And what should I search for, guys? Google images. What do you guys want to see?
Apple car. Oops.
Apple car. Okay, there we go. And there, wow, that's really cool looking. Too bad none of those pictures are true. But yeah, there's all the Google images for the Apple car. And a trick for this, if you're giving a presentation or doing like keynote stuff, I would say search for something like, I'll say image, I'm going to say baseball, and then I'm going to say, this is the trick, you say PNG, which is the image type, transparent. All right. And then when you do that, it gets you a bunch of transparent images of a baseball. And you can take any one of those and, whoops, let me get it here. You can take that. I'm going to copy that image, copy image. Then I'm going to open Keynote. And pick a dark theme. And this is the fun part about doing presentations. Sometimes you just, there we go. And I'm going to hit paste. Well, you know, it didn't work. That usually they have, if it's transparent, it's usually already starts transparent. But you guys probably already know the trick that you can make it transparent, just going like that. But you get a transparent image that's very easy to use in presentations if you use that Alfred trick of searching images. Let me get back there. Search for an image. Whoops. Search for an image and then say something transparent, car transparent image. And then you're going to get images that don't have a background on them. And then you can use them without having to remove the background. So that's just kind of an idea. There's a lot of search stuff you can do with Alfred. And then you can also sync it between your devices. So if you've got multiple Macs, you can sync all your preferences across. So that's the kind of big picture image of Alfred and some of the tricks you can do with it. I used to find myself working with Mac people when I'd sit down and I'd start doing something on my Mac, and they'd always be looking over my shoulder like, well, how did you just do that? And almost all the time, it was some trickery that I would do with Alfred. And part of that for me really is the logic. Like Spotlight is very literal. Like if I want to see pages, I think you need to type the word pages, Pages, and to get to it. And with Alfred, it's a lot fuzzier. So like Microsoft Word was a good one. You'd have to type Microsoft Word in Spotlight to find it. If you just type Word here, it's going to find it. See, I just typed Word. And in fact, it remembers. So if I now hit the Enter key, it's going to remember that, hey, when he types Word, he means Microsoft Word. Now, if I had instead hit the arrow key down and entered for Word Services now, and I'll do that. Let's say I just opened up Word Services. All right, it's not really an app, but now let me see if it's learned. See, now when I type Word, it put Word Services at the top because the logic is following what I'm doing and keeping track. So the app kind of learns the way you think as you use it to find things. And I think that name logic is one of its killer features. But you can do a lot more than just open apps, by the way. Like I'm going to go to Keynote again. And if I hit the right key, it gives me the Keynote app, right? But I can do more than that. Let me show you here. I have some notes on some. Now, if I hit, let me go back and do that again. So I'll hit Keynote, and if I hit Option right key, oops, then it goes and shows it to me in the Finder. And if I hit, I can also go straight to the file. Then I can also get it to open recent documents. So, I mean, it's kind of nuts, all the stuff you can do with applications in Alfred. So let me show you how some of this stuff works. I'm going to open Alfred again, hit Command comma, and let's just kind of break through some of the settings. I showed you already, I have re-logged it to Command space. Also in Alfred, you tell it where you're at. And the reason you do that is when you do some of these searches, it's going to want to know what region you're in. Like if you say you're in France, it's going to give you the local sites for France. A good example of that is Amazon. Like I talked earlier about doing a Google search, but you could also do an Amazon search. So I hit Amazon, and then I say search Amazon for baseball. And now it's going to do a baseball search in Amazon, but it's also going to do it in the United States Amazon store. And it's doing that because in Alfred, I told it that I'm in the United States. There's a set of permissions that you set when you first set the application up. We've already gone through the clipboard preferences, but one thing I didn't mention in the clipboard is that you can also have it merge the clipboard if you want. So if you wanted to do a clipboard where you had a document with 10 different things you wanted to combine into a single text snippet, all you'd have to do is press this. And then if you hold and double tap C, usually we hit Command C to copy something. If we hit the C twice, then it adds it on. So you can make a cumulative pasteboard, and then you can paste it all in if you want. The web search is the custom searches that we were talking about earlier. I showed you Google and images, but there's a lot more. I could say maps, and I'll say Disneyland. And now it's going to open Google Maps to show me Disneyland. There's a bunch more. If you want to do eBay, just type eBay. Saxophone. And there are some there's a saxophone for $200. I don't think that would play very well, but you can get one for $200. And then IMDb, if you ever watch movies and you're like, who is that guy in that movie? IMDb Star Wars. You just type IMDb and it searches the IMDb website for you. I mean, as you start playing with this, you start to realize what this does is it replaces the usual nonsense where you open a web browser, then you have to go find the IMDb website, then you have to find the search bar on the website and, go from there. You can even add custom ones if you want. If you've got like a custom website or a forum, you could add it so it would search your forum only. Another one, I like this DuckDuckGo website. DuckDuckGo is a very security minded web search engine. Not quite as good as Google, but it's not creepy like Google can be. So if you just type duck, and then I can say, search for MacSparky on DuckDuckGo. And so I can use different search engines based on what I'm searching. And I never have to go into the browser to set them up. You can also do it with Wikipedia. That's another one that's very popular. Yeah. What's a good subject for Wikipedia, guys? How about the Macintosh? I guess I wasn't supposed to capitalize it. There it is. And that's the Macintosh website or page on Wikipedia. So, the web search is one of its most powerful features. It's the one people use the most, but you can also have it search your bookmarks. Like I'm not having it index them right now, but all I have to do is press this button. And then if I want to go, if you're a big bookmark user in Safari, just light this up and then hit Command Space, type in the name of your bookmark, and it'll take you there. So if I hit Command Space MacSparky, and you can see that it's finding contacts. I don't see, it probably hasn't indexed my bookmarks yet because I just turned it on, but if you give it a few minutes, it would be able to do that. I already showed you calculator. There is a more advanced form in calculator if you hit the equal sign, and then you can do more advanced calculations if you want. It's got a dictionary in here, and this one is real helpful if you have trouble spelling things or you hear a word you don't know. You just activate it and then hit define, and now it's going to define a word, and we'll say, what's somebody give me a crazy word. Linda, you got one? How about sump pump? There it is. That's what a sump pump is, guys. And that just searches the built-in dictionary. If you're having trouble spelling, it can do the same thing. You just type spell and it'll tell you if you're getting it wrong. Spell sentence. Like, did I spell sentence wrong? See, I put an A in it. Earlier today, I spelled it with an E and I thought I spelled it wrong, but I did spell it right. Turns out it has an E in it. So there you go. So this is just a feature you turn off or on. You choose your language. It's going to pick the English by default if your Mac is set up to run English. But if you want to run the Polish dictionary, you can do that. And you run the whole thing just by opening Alfred and typing spell or define. Now, I already showed you contacts. And honestly, contacts are one of the biggest things I do with this is because I'm constantly needing to write people or call them, just typing in. And I know you can do that also in Spotlight, but it's way more powerful here. Spotlight requires you to use the mouse. With everything in here, everything is mouse based. My hands are not going on the mouse. I'm just using the arrow keys to move around and hitting the enter key. And it gives me, like I said, it gives me those hints down here. So Command C is copy, Command L is large, etc. If you want, you can also have it run your playlist out of your music. I've got an integration with 1Password. If you're a 1Password user, You can access your 1Password passwords again right from here. They also have one for Fantastical, which I currently don't have enabled. And then there's a whole set of things you can do with Alfred that are like all your system commands. Like, putting your computer to sleep requires you to go up into the menu bar, find, the Apple menu, find the right control. It always, anytime I have to touch the mouse, I feel like I'm slowed down. With this, all I have to do is type sleep, and I'm not going to do it now because then you guys wouldn't see me anymore, but I can put my computer to sleep, or I can put my displays to sleep right from here. It has all the system controls you want. Hide an app, quit an app, force quit, quit all your apps, volume up, volume down, enable the screensaver, see the trash can, empty the trash. It's just empty trash, type empty trash, and you do it all from the Alfred bar. It's just restart is the one I probably use the most of these, is whenever I need to do a Mac restart. I don't do it from the menu bar. I just activate Alfred and hit restart. And this is really a problem if I push that button. So I'm not going to do that. But you can run all of that stuff from right inside Alfred. Eject is there too, although I don't use that anymore. I mean, I don't really have that many disks attached that I need. But if you wanted, like, you could say just eject removable media. Like if you've got a disk that you want to eject routinely, maybe you got a laptop, you've got a disk you want to eject from it before you go on, you could enable that command in Alfred. And then it's got all the terminal stuff. If you're a terminal fiend, I'm not going to even get into that today. And then it's got a way to put the large text on. I showed you the phone number earlier when we put the large text on, but if you don't like that font, you can change the font or the way it renders on the screen. So that's just something for you. It's also got quick look. So those are the features. And then the next piece of Alfred that I think people should be checking out, and this is the reason I use Alfred over LaunchBar, is this tab called Workflows. And I know LaunchBar has added some of these features recently, but Alfred was the first one to do it. And so when they started getting these things, I got really excited about it. So workflows are specific scripts, usually written by third parties, but some of them are written by the Alfred developers, where you can improve features inside Alfred by just adding this in. And one of the ones I use all the time is folder search. I just actually published a thing about this in my MacSparky Labs, but folder search is a workflow that I installed that says if I ever type the word F, it just searches for folders on my Mac, because that's a thing that I need all the time. Like I want to go, if I want to go into my Finder, it's usually for a very specific folder, So all I have to do is type the letter F, and then I can do a folder search with this workflow attached. So if I hit F space MacSparky Labs, and I hit that button, then it just opens up the Finder to that folder directly. And I don't have to spend a bunch of time monkeying around, mousing in the Finder to get to that folder. And you can even customize it. And the nice thing about all of these workflows is that they're all customizable. Like this one was built by Andrew Pepperell, which is one of the developers of Alfred, but then I made my own copy of it. And the way it works is just to get really nerdy with you guys for a second, if you can bear with it. If I click this button here, this is the action where it does the search. So it's going, I'm using the letter F, and it's going to find folders. And under scope, because we've got this tilde here, it's looking at every folder on my Mac, right? And then we're saying, well, what fields? We're looking at the folder name, and these are just standard functions. So type the letter F, it's going to search every folder, and it's only going to report back folders. See, the file types I'm getting here are folders. If I put file type image, then it would show me images as well. And I don't want to search that. I just want folders. So what I did after I saw how this worked is I right-clicked on it and I hit duplicate, and I made one here for MacSparky Labs stuff. And so this is a folder search of MacSparky Labs. And what the things I changed in here wasn't much. I changed the keyword to be ML for MacSparky Labs instead of folders, but it's still searching just for folders, and it's only searching in the MacSparky Labs folder. So like if you've got, if you do client work and you've got 100 clients, you could do a scope limited folder search of just your client folders this way. and say, just show me the folders that have the name Smith in it. And all your Smith client folders would show up, but nothing else would. And I find this tremendously useful. Just with this one little workflow feature, almost never do I have to just open up the Finder and start like digging for a folder. It's just always there for me. There's some other ones though. This is one I'm playing with. It's the new one that works with Obsidian. This is an OmniFocus one, and I don't know if anybody's an OmniFocus user here, but it allows me to do the same thing. Like, and this, somebody else wrote this. I didn't do this. I know it looks like a spaghetti here, but it works. So I'm gonna just hide that so you don't have to look at it. But the way that one works is I type .f. If I want to search folders in OmniFocus, I'll say .f. And then you see right there, the first option to me is search folders in OmniFocus. And that's because of that workflow. So I'll say, yeah, do that. And I'll say, I think there's one from MacSparky Labs there. I'll type, there it is. So I hit return. Then it's opening me up to the MacSparky Labs folder in OmniFocus. I can also do specific tasks, specific projects, specific, just about anything you can do in OmniFocus, you can find. Once again, just by doing that OmniFocus workflow. Another one, this is a brand new one, but now that we got shortcuts on the Mac, anybody using shortcuts on the Mac? Okay, but not many. So, but if you were using it, this is how it works. You hit Command Space, and it's SC for shortcuts. There, oops, there we go. And you see it says MacSparky, that's the last one I ran. But this is a list of all of my shortcuts that I've installed on my Mac. And I can trigger any one of them just by hitting return or typing in the name. I'll say content idea or MPU content. These are all shortcuts that I've built that I can run right from Alfred without requiring me to open the shortcuts app. So just to show you, if you guys haven't played with shortcuts yet, I've got a lot of them. And so rather than me having to go in here and dig my way to a shortcut, I can trigger it from an Alfred script. Once you guys start using shortcuts, you'll know how nice this is. Time zones is another one. This is a third-party plugin that somebody built. And again, this looks really complicated, but you just install it from the web. And now when I open Alfred, I type TZ, it shows me the time zones in different cities. And it shows me what time it is right now in New York or London or Warsaw. I've got a podcast partner that's in the time zone of, I think it's add time zone as a command, add time zone. Sorry, I should remember this. Okay, time zone. There we go. Add a new city. So I've got a podcast partner that's in Memphis. So I'm just going to type that in there. And he's in Memphis, Tennessee. So next time I hit TZ, it'll need a minute to update, but Memphis will show up there as well. So if you routinely deal with people in other cities, you can add them here. And then if you just want to know what time it is where they are, just type TZ and there it is. In Memphis, it's 21:57. So it's just very simple and easy to use. This app just gets so much more powerful as you start digging into it. You also have control over the appearance. So depending on how you want it to look, they've got different looks. Here's the dark, modern. Some of these will be familiar to you guys. Alfred, macOS, that's kind of, Avenir is kind of nice. They have a Big Sur. So if you like the look of Big Sur, you can click that one. And there's a whole group of online folks building their own. So you can add different ones to it as you want. Go online and download them. So you can give Alfred whatever kind of look you want. Here's the classic look of Alfred. I kind of like this Nord look. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that one turned on. They've got a separate application for your iPhone that is, I think it's a $5 app, and it gives you a bunch of triggers you can do with your Mac. So if you've ever been laying in bed and you wanted to put your Mac to sleep, Alfred's iPhone app can securely connect to Alfred on your Mac, and you can give it the sleep command from your bed. So if you want to remotely do things like that to your Mac without having to go through the internet and put yourself at security risk, I think it's a useful app for that. And then there's a whole bunch of additional advanced features, but that's kind of what you can do with Alfred. I mean, there's a lot to this app, and you got to just kind of decide what the problems you want to solve with it. I always felt like when learning something like this is you just want to take it one step at a time. Like if you want to dig in on Alfred, get good at making contacts, or whatever the problem you're doing the most, like that folder one is a good one to start with, and then just start adding on to it as you have time. And before you know it, your fingers just dance around this thing and do all sorts of fun stuff without any thought. There's a free version you can try out, and you can just go to the website, just search Alfred Mac app, and it's there. They also have a power pack, and I don't remember how much it was, but I bought it years ago. And that some of the features I did today are only available because I had the power pack. I think it was about $30. See, I'm going to use Alfred now. So you say Google Alfred app. And there's the website, alfredapp.com. So the power pack is currently, I guess I need to go to this.
It's 30 pounds sterling, so about $40.
All right, 30 pounds. And then here's the remote app. And then like they have a whole page of workflows here. And I'd like to hear if anybody out here is a big Alfred user, what some of your workflows are. Favorite ones, like if you're a Spotify user, they've got something cool. Or I have the 1Password, but they also have LastPass if that's your thing. Searching Reddit. There's just so much you can do with this app. It's really crazy. Magic 8 Ball. Here, let me just install one so you can see it. This is something I probably would never use, but why not, right? So this is called Magic 8 Ball. So I'm going to get the latest version of this, and I think it's just going to be a Magic 8 Ball. You guys remember what that is, right? And import. So all I have to do is type 8 ball. This is the command right here. Let's see what happens when I do that. 8 ball. Ask the Magic 8 Ball a question. Are you guys enjoying this presentation? The Magic 8 Ball says not now. Well, sorry guys, I'm doing my best here. But that's what you do with Alfred, and I don't really use those gimmicky ones like Magic 8 Ball much, but I do find for productivity stuff, file management, contact management, and those workflows that it is absolutely worth 30 pounds sterling. So I would recommend you guys give it a shot. And I bet there's some power users among you already. So you could probably talk to each other at future meetings if you got hung up on it. But really, there isn't that much to go wrong here. The trick, I think the biggest trick of Alfred is just remembering once you trigger it, Command comma is what gets you to the screen with all the settings. And if you can get to the settings, you can make it, dance however you want. You guys have any questions?
David, this is Len. I have some questions. I have a launch bar installed. You mentioned that your program has workflows, which launch bar doesn't have. And you mentioned 1Password integration. I'm a 1Password user. Are there other significant differences between the two that might affect my decisions?
I honestly think we did an episode of Mac Power Users on this, and I will give it, I'll give you guys a link to it. And so we spent an hour talking about the differences. But honestly, at the end of the day, if you're using Launch Bar and you're happy with it, I wouldn't even look at Alfred. I mean, I think it's the parity is close enough that, and the triggering language is different. I mean, and generally, I think Launch Bar is better at moving files, like file management stuff, than Alfred is. And I think Alfred is better at the parlor tricks, like opening a specific folder and applying those workflows. I mean, that's kind of the summary of that whole podcast. If you're doing file management with Launch Bar, I would definitely stick with it. You're not going to be happy with the way Alfred does it. But also, I do think that they're both really good options. So, you don't need, it's not like one is down here and the other is up here. They're both about the same spot. And there's kind of like this war going on where each one gets an update and it matches features from the other one. So, and that competition is really great. So no matter which version you use, you're going to have some good options. So what I'd tell you is probably take a look at Alfred if you're curious and you just want to goof off a little bit. But I think you're probably fine with Launch Bar. Now, all that said, I did switch from Launch Bar, and the reason was because of the workflows. Like The things I do with OmniFocus and DevonThink and file management in terms of getting to folders, those features are so killer for me that it was worth switching.
Got it.
A couple of questions for the folder search. Would that also work well with Dropbox?
Yeah, it'll search any folder on your drive.
Okay, because it's considered,
Cloud-based, yeah.
yeah.
Like if you look, the one I did earlier, it was an iCloud-based folder search, and iCloud is even harder than
Okay.
Dropbox because it's got all that weird mumbo jumbo in the file names, but it works fine with any folder. So long as Dropbox has those folders on your drive. Now, if you don't have Dropbox installed and all the folders are in the Dropbox cloud, you have to go to the Safari browser to see them, then you won't see them. You know, it's got to be on your drive.
On the
That's
Finder.
it.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then on your podcasts, if somebody were to drop in after, or for that matter, if somebody in our group is like brand new and wants to hear some of your podcasts, I always have a little bit of concern that maybe I'm dropping in the middle and I'm going to have missed a whole bunch of stuff that I might need to understand what you're
Yeah.
doing. Can you address that?
Yeah, I'm going to put on my list, I'm going to put a like getting started page at MacSparky.com with some of the, what I feel like are the more basic kind of getting started shows, but I haven't done that yet. What I would say is that the model for the Mac power users and even Automators, all the podcasts I make, is I really try to make it where if we're going to teach you something, we start from the beginning every time. And I get complaints from some listeners saying you're too basic in the first half hour. But I have this theory that we build an on-ramp for every person that listens. And if I start at, if I start at step 5, you may be perfectly capable of understanding step 10, but if I start at step 5, you never get to step 10. If I start at step 1 and I get to step 10, you will always get to step 10. So why do I skip? And I always like to start with the easy stuff so people can kind of follow along. So I would like to say that just about any show you listen to is going to be done that way. That is kind of our, North Star of show planning, is we really want people at any level to be able to come in and learn something. So hopefully we deliver. You know, we've made 600 shows, so sometimes I don't think we always nail it, but we do our best every time.
Now you're talking about Mac power users there, right?
Yeah. Automators is a little more. The other show I make that is about Mac stuff is probably more. We do kind of start at step 5 there, because
Okay.
that the reason we made that show was because there was stuff that was too far down the road to get into on Mac power users, so we made a separate one with the more complicated stuff.
And what about, you have a productivity podcast as well?
Yeah. That show is not about Mac stuff, although it does come up on occasion. It's called Focused. I really, if you guys want me to get hippie for a minute, I really think that there's a huge problem in the world right now with attention. And it's more so with young people because they're growing up in the age of social media, but it's true for old people too. And we all need to get better at focusing for extended period of time on what's important. And I feel so strongly about it, I made a podcast. So, there you go. It's called Focused, and it's on relay.fm/focused if you want to go down that rabbit hole with me.
And for that one, that actually, don't ask me why, and somehow in my head, that one seems the most intimidating to jump in. So
Not really. We talk about different things. Every show has a theme. Like we just did one recently on workspaces, like how do you maintain focus in your workspace? And that was all self-contained. So it's really not bad.
okay, thank you. Oh, and then I had one more about Alfred. For snippets, do you use Alfred for that, or do you use, because you had something that briefly showed up on the screen about I can't remember, the one that used to be with Smile. Maybe they
Yes,
are.
Text Expander. I actually do snippets in Text Expander because the reason I do that is it's just more powerful. Like I actually run Apple scripts and scripting solutions, and Text Expander has like the ability to do fill-ins and tab keys. Like I have Text Expander snippets. Well, here, I'll just show you guys real quick. You want to get a little extra? Let's see here.
If you don't mind. I actually use Type It For Me, so I use a different one.
There's I mean, you use whatever one works for you, but like in Text Expander, here's one I had like for the law practice called New Bill. And it puts in the name of the business and it puts in the current month and year and the invoice, and then it hits the tab key. So, and whenever you write an email, if you hit tab key, it jumps from the subject line to the next section. So this is the subject line.
Right.
And then it prompts me for the person's name.
Right.
Hi, Linda. and attached is the
Your
current
bill
month
for the
bill. Thank you
SVMUG,
for your business, So
the SVMUG presentation is.
yeah. So that, it gives me some features that Alfred doesn't, is the short version. So I actually use a more powerful version. When it comes to productivity software, that I feel like paying for a tool, even if it just saves me, a few minutes, is worth it. So if one's a little better at one thing than another, then I'll use that one for that thing. I really like the idea of best in class apps. And honestly, none of them are that expensive. These Mac developers give us a lot of good apps for not a lot of money.
Right. Yeah.
I used to have a Palm Trio phone. Any Palm Trio folks out there? Anybody still using one? I'd love to hear that. But my Palm Trio had a bug in it where every couple months it would duplicate all my contacts. It would just make two of each one. And then if I didn't fix it like within a few days, then it would duplicate it again. So then I'd have four of each one. And it was like this cascading, oh man, Kenji, you win. But it was a cascading error in the operating system where, like, if you let it go a week, you'd have like 16 of each contact. And it was such a well-known bug that some guy wrote an app that all it did was it removed duplicate contacts. And when he released it, it was $50. And we were all so glad to give him $50 to just get rid of duplicate. I mean, we're so lucky now when you get an app like Alfred that's 30 pounds, it's just crazy how much more reasonable they are compared to what they used to cost.
Okay.
So you mentioned Hazel at the beginning by accident.
Yeah.
Does Hazel compete with these other two?
No, Hazel's just a file management tool. So Hazel will with Hazel, you can put and someday maybe next year I'll come back and talk to you guys about Hazel. But the with Hazel, it'll monitor a folder and look for certain criteria. Like if it sees a folder that has a PDF in it with the name electric company and your electric company account number in it, then it will take that and it'll rename it electric company invoice from February 2022, and it'll move it to your receipts bills or your records folders. Hazel is like a file management tool. It's all automated. It doesn't really have an interface. It just does that stuff. I made a field guide about it. You can check it out if you guys want. I'll send you, Linda, I'll send you a couple codes for the Hazel field guide. And then next time you guys have a meeting, you can give them away to somebody.
That's very kind of you. There's a question, David, in the chat. It says, if you have two Macs, is it possible to differentiate which one you want the remote Alfred to control?
You know what? I've never tried that, but I'm sure. I think it's hardwired in. Like you have to pair the phone to the device. So I guess you would just pair it to one device. But I've never tried it with two. Okay. It works fine with one, and to tell you the truth, I don't use that. I tested it and it worked, but I don't. My Mac turns itself off if I don't work on it for long. I just didn't really see a need for it. But if you've got your Mac turned on all the time, or if you've ever been up in bed and you realize, the screen just lit up downstairs, it'd be good for something.
Okay. Anybody else have questions that maybe I don't see anything else in the chat? We want to let David go.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. I hope you guys like Alfred. I think it's one of my favorite utilities, and I use it so many times a day. Like Text Expander will tell you how many times you've used it. Alfred, I don't think it does. Let me look. Actually, I think maybe they did add stats at some point. Let me just look at something. Oh, here we go. Yeah, usage. Yeah, they have a usage feature now. So I use it on average 40 times a day. So there you go.
You're getting your money's worth. Good for you.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. Take care, everybody. Glad
Thanks.
everybody's well
Thank
and
you.
healthy.